Hey guys, welcome to The Strong Young Man. Whenever you have a problem that you feel is too large to solve, the best tactic is to break it down into smaller, manageable pieces. This process of breaking the problem up into its component parts is known as drilling down. By isolating smaller problems from bigger problems, you can tackle segments of the problem that, when solved, will enable you to complete the bigger picture, solving the overlaying problem. The reason that this strategy works so well is that smaller problems in isolation don't appear as intimidating as a monstrous problem. Start by identifying your main problems and then breaking it down into segments. Tackle the smaller issues first and then move on to the bigger part of the problem. This will give you momentum, physical and psychological. It's human nature to ignore problems that seem too hard to solve. This is because solving a large problem requires an extreme amount of motivation, which is a finite resource. If the level of motivation required to solve any problem is below the level of motivation you have to solve a particular problem, then it is solvable. If your motivation is less than the amount required, it will not be solved until a time when you have motivation that passes the minimum threshold. I explained this concept in episode 70, the psychology behind the motivation to perform good habits, and the psychology behind the motivation to solving problems is the same. Focusing on the smaller problems and then solving them serves to build your momentum, which will make the more difficult problems easier to solve over time. When you focus on these smaller problems, understand that there is the potential that the bigger problem becomes larger if left alone. The smaller problems should only serve as a warm-up to the bigger problems, and it's not an excuse to let the bigger problem intensify. You must not get too bogged down with the smaller problems and lose focus on the overall direction or the purpose of the problem-solving activity. Don't lose sight of the bigger issues, because this will cause more problems for you in the long run. Set a challenging deadline for resolving the smaller problems so that you can move on to the heart of the problem quickly. The divide and conquer strategy is applicable to more than just your problems. Humans have used this technique for centuries, as in war, divide the army into smaller portions that can be cornered. In seduction, separate a woman from her group in order to seduce her. In nature, humans and animals isolate their prey from the herd in order to concentrate their efforts on one coordinated kill. In police interrogations, the police divide the accomplices in order to make them feel isolated and alone so that they turn on each other. In arguments, isolating one person away from a group prevents pack mentality and enables open discussion. And in sales, isolating the prospect's objection in order to counter the client's excuse for why they don't want to make the purchase. There is a reversal to the divide and conquer strategy that you need to be aware of. Sometimes it is best to solve the bigger problem first, if the bigger problem is causing you lots of small little problems that all emanate from that one bigger problem. You must consider the possibility that solving the biggest, most intimidating problem will enable the smaller problems to solve themselves. This is known as uprooting the problem at its source. This is not always the case, but it is something that you need to be aware of. An example of this is when you are facing an abundance of health issues. Don't waste the time trying to solve the symptoms with a band-aid solution. Instead, identify and fix the root cause. Any problem that you have can almost certainly be traced to one toxic source. This source of the problem could be anything from a toxic person, a location, an activity, an object, a state, or a process. When you have a problem, you should concentrate on ascertaining the source of this problem and then uprooting it. This goes for small and big problems. Don't waste time and effort fixing the symptoms that the problem causes. The source is going to keep causing the symptoms, and in the meantime, the problem becomes more and more problematic. If you only fix the symptoms, you undertake a perpetual game of whack-a-mole, fixing something every time something comes up as a result of the problem. Attack the problem at its source and the symptoms will disappear. Band-aid solutions can work for a short period of time, but there is no limit to the number of consequences something causes, and often enough it's not possible to see the problems with any degree of clarity ahead of time. It's far better to remove the root cause of the problem from existence immediately. Scientists and engineers use a method called the root cause analysis to identify points of failure and remove the potential for their future occurrence. This concept was introduced in episode 54, used to identify and fix your mistakes, but can also be used to fix any form of failure, problem, or anything else that inflicts some sort of harm on you that you do not wish to experience again. Use the root cause analysis to identify the root cause and then implement corrective actions and countermeasures so the problem stops causing you issues. The inversion of this concept is to not allow yourself to become divided, or else you'll be conquered. This includes not allowing your team, your closest friendship group, or your family to become divided. Your government wants to divide and isolate you and everyone around you into the smallest possible unit, the individual. They love dissent among families, groups, and society at large because this creates division, and division gives the government more power and control. Strong men do not let this happen to them, their family, or their tribe. To finish up today's episode, I want to give you something to think about. You are not as strong as your strongest strength. You are only as weak as your weakest weakness. People will not conquer you because their strengths are too strong. People will conquer you because your weaknesses are too weak and exploitable. Your homework for today's episode is to identify your biggest weaknesses and then build upon them so that you avoid yourself becoming conquered by another. Thanks for watching today's episode. In episode 123, I'll be talking about the red pill. Subscribe and click the bell icon to be notified when it drops. Catch you then.